Hello and welcome back. My name's Brandon. You might recognize my tag for 7 Giratinas. And I'd like to continue my little project of creating a pipeline around the world of Satisfactory. Apologies for starting at night, but you can always enjoy a good aesthetic. I guess that's something. Observe the moon traveling across the sky. Never know what that planet is. And I realized there is something in here. Did I keep explosives on me? Let's blow this bad boy up. And I have room on me right now. Help me remember to drop that off. Just kidding. This is a recording. Can't start yet. Starting the timer from where we were previously, 22 minutes and 30 seconds. So yeah, I had this idea of running a pipe around the world, and I thought I'd record it. Use it as an opportunity to chat about my thoughts, things in life right now. Last time I talked about some rambly thoughts on self-progression, love and care for others. I'd love to continue those thoughts and create more inspiring points to share with others, things that might come to me in the moment. We'll see what I get up to talking to you about in this video. Awkward start. I'll also point out my progress so far. Started about the southernmost tip directly from my base. And I've made it a decent distance. I don't say a quarter, maybe a fifth or a sixth or an eighth of the map. So I'm in this for the long haul. Had this project idea to do a travel tube around the map. So I have a nice little godsend of tier 1 belts already placed to help me do this traversing and pipe laying. I'll try to steer clear of those jokes, I apologize. Otherwise, this is just a chill experience. Hopefully you enjoy what I'm spouting out and what I have to share. Apologies for that auto pause. Meant to look up how to change that, but it didn't seem to be a easily accessible feature. But I'd rather have it than not, so it's good to leave it as is. I'll try to continue the pipe laying on the belt as best as I can. So if I miss a line, then I'll reset it. I've only had 2 funny pipe placements. I try to place them on these joints, but sometimes I get a little too tall, or it places on the ground through it. Funny little quirk about placing things. But that's the nice part about this game, is just like the Coffee Stain Studios predecessor, you've got a quirkiness to the gameplay of their other games. Also failed to mention that I have a unique situation for my previous placement. I placed storage bins around the map. Just stop and collect stuff when I was creating the belts in the first place, so I'll be deleting those as we move along to create this as a more seamless belt. Maybe a pause in the monotony of the pipe placement. As you can see, I took a fun little liberty here with laying out the belts where I created it high up in the air instead of closer to the water surface. We'll see what other silly little ways I place things before. It's always also fun to place them on top of these coral outcroppings or random rocks in the water. If I don't keep up constant dialogue, I apologize. Most everything I plan to talk about is impromptu, in the moment thoughts. Using this as an opportunity to experience and experiment with my ability to multitask and keep up a conversation, keep up a dialogue. Also try to slow down and look at the game. I like enjoying the beauty of the game. Hopefully I also don't get run-ins with aliens and fauna. Oh good, the sun's coming up. Then we'll be able to see again. Oops. I'll try to avoid dipping in the water for any one that has fears of deep waters. So disclaimer on that, and also apologize for anyone that is squeamish about heights. I also feel a bit squeamish about heights. I've talked before about how I aspire to be like people that are thrill seekers by doing things like skydiving, rock climbing. Reminds me of the hammock that people place on the side of a cliff. Do they spend the night in those? That's quite the thought. Don't know if I want to experience that ever, but it's something that suits them, that they really enjoy. And all the good to them. So we're currently on the westernmost part of the map. A lot of water. In fact, we'll be seeing a lot of water, but here it's a lot of beachfront. So I decided I'd travel along the outermost reaches. In this case, it was jumping from outcrop to outcrop of these fungal stacks. Never had a name before for it. I think that's a good name of describing, good way of describing it. It also looks like a rock-like texture, so I didn't picture it of anything more than this solid mass. But I bet the texture of it would be quite something. Never been a real fan of mushrooms in general. Primarily the edible and cuisine kind. Never done drugs, so I wouldn't know what hallucinogenic mushrooms would be like. Anyone can picture what experience they would feel. That actually leads into one of the things that I wanted to knock off my bucket list. I don't know if anyone shares this sentiment with me, but I wanted to experience passing out one time in my life. Hopefully not by any dangerous means, but the story I have for that is kind of funny. I was getting my blood drawn. I also decided to donate a little bit for a local research called Heredogene, which only had to triple the amount of blood they would be drawing from me, from 1 ounce to 3. And now this doesn't sound like a significant amount of blood. To others it might sound like a lot. So anyone squeamish about that, I can stop the blood levels there. But what happened in my case was I was at the end of a work day, and I went straight there. So I hadn't drinking much water that day. Usual day for me. Didn't feel any dehydration or anything. Also had yet to eat dinner. So my body had a very quick reaction to having blood drawn. Again, cut it short for detail-wise, but what ended up happening was they decided to lead me to a bed to lie down, and not even having walked 10 feet, all of a sudden I find myself on the ground. They said that I had been out for about 10 seconds, which surprised me, which means passing out is easily a lapse in memory and environment. Had to reassert myself and figure out where I was, a lot like falling asleep in high school. Some people claim they never have. Good for them. It was all too easy because you're dead tired having to get up so early. That leads into the conversation of should high school be getting up earlier or later. For the most part, I stand by how they originally designed that aspect of the school system, the K through 12. It teaches a good habit of getting up at an early time to appreciate the amount of sunlight you get in the day. And so I felt a lot like that, falling asleep in school. A little bit disoriented upon waking up and trying to figure out where I was. But all in all, it was a good first time experience for something I wanted to knock off my bucket list. So I'm stopping the timer right there at 33 minutes and 59 seconds. Could have stopped it sooner, but also that's a nice touch of how close it was to the next minute. Trying to create opportunities and moments in our lives. Why not be stuck on the detail of how close you were to starting off a minute? I like the look of this right here. It looks like something was dragging. Oh, there's a summer sloop on the ground. Hopefully this autosave rockets me into the air. I don't think it did. Maybe a little. Helped, so I can't complain. So I have to run back. I didn't realize that I now have run out of copper plates, and I also put me, copper sheets, and also put me really low on pipes, so that's a good metric. What I found out from the last video. If you're about the same for both resources, let's look at the values real quick. It seems to be 1-to-1, so I must have had a lot more copper sheets than I did pipes. Apologies that I'm switching between those bars. I'm gonna try and keep up the speed here with returning to base. I also should compare where my map is. Oh nice, I'm clearing out some map I hadn't yet discovered. I do like the aesthetic of this area. It's kind of brownish red, but it's a very nice mix of desert mixed with bright colorful fauna. Interesting to see green tipped stalk-like trees with red ground. Always been satisfied with this game called Satisfactory. It's always nice to look at. Let's see if I can bounce off of the... I don't even know what they're called. Oh, I lost all my momentum. That's fine. Thought it'd act more like a trampoline, but I must have angled it wrong. So yeah, now I'm stuck on a long walk back. Maybe I'll find an alternative, keep a car on me. But this will also be an opportunity to explore the area. Apparently something's shooting at me that I ran past. Well, that's not a bad thing to take. Might not be worth putting in my inventory right now, because now it's... Never mind, looks like I deleted it. But deleting it's perfectly fine, because like anything else in this game, you are mass-producing everything. I love this. There's a lot of things that changed. In one spot at my base, there's a spot of ground that got raised and filled with water, so I can no longer easily access some of the belt lines that I had created. Hopefully I don't get too close to those things. But the answer is usually just delete it and rebuild it, put on some concrete blocks. I guess we'll all explore this cave. I'm not sure if I've been in here before. And it looks to be a dead end. Unless it curves around here. Thank goodness it does. But an opportunity to explore. Puts a damper on... Ooh, 2 lizard doggos. Puts a damper on the project, but I can live with that. Looks like it curved in a way to keep you close to the edge of the map. So not a significant amount of progress. At least I can make it worth the trip to get this blue slug. So long trip back. Explore some of the map. Oh, I attracted some flies. It's an opportunity to enjoy the beauty of the map. Also shows the dedication that they've put into making this game. Might as well just run through these fireflies. Oh my goodness, there are so many. Decided to mash spacebar to see if it would rocket me up a little. Maybe I should put Blade Runners on. Switch between those constantly. But I don't plan on making these trips often if I can help it. Looks like the travel tactic of the fireflies is to jump in front of you, or otherwise it's a randomly generated approach and then a charge for attack. However, if I'm moving faster than that movement, then don't imagine they're catching up, but again, I don't know exactly what's going on. Bit more discovery. Not like I'll be able to remember where every single one of the trampoline walkers name interim. Looks like I'm close to something. I believe this will be connected to quartz or coal. I can aim to go about there if I wanted to get to a launch site. But I believe this will drop me on a open area. Oh, summer sloop. Where I'll be able to travel along some tier 5 belts.
I strongly advise you to harvest this specimen.
I'm going to talk over that a bit because it might be intimidating to others. It intimidates me a little. It's a fun voice. Oops, it looks like I have tier 3 on, or tier 1 on top of tier 5. But I know this was a tier 5, so I can travel along this and speed things up a little. So a bit of exploration of my map. Maybe it would have been smart to make use of that. Can't see it right here at the moment. I have a rail traveling across open space, across of a factory there. Factory setup. Might have been smart to create more train setups to get resources to my base, but I'm an advocate for the belts. They're doing the numbers, and I always mass produce them. Might as well use them. Also, a major aspect of this game is time spent doing other things helps you overproduce things. You can see the quartz line is always backed up. Gonna have to touch down. I don't want to run through that poison or run out of gas. Be nice if things weren't so finicky to walk along the side of the belts, but also I'm trying to do something that is semi-unreasonable. You're trying to walk on something that's supposed to go 100% the opposite direction. Of course you're going to be hampered or hindered by it. Now that I got here, I need to reassess what I came to do. Here's a little bit of a showcase of my messy stores. I'm not going to take the pipe up because I was thinking I'd grab some of these pipes first, and also the copper sheets. Had to major overhaul them. So saw them coming from way over there. I think I have 3 setups giving me sheets. In particular, that one probably being the most profitable. And here's a helpful thing I'm gonna do for myself in the future. Why not feed some of those overproduced pipes from somewhere to a spot so I can just grab everything from one spot? Means I'm going to add to the mess here. Looks like it's not connecting. There we go. Oh, apologies for that autosave. I switch between making things super messy and trying to make it look nice and clean. I decided, screw it, let's go through that concrete. So while that builds up, I can get me some copper sheets. Gonna over grab on these, put some back. And then gotta grab them from here. And then just spend a minute waiting for here. For the pipes to collect up. Looks like I'm good on all the other necessities. So one of the things I wanted to talk about in this video in particular was the importance of exercising. Worked out this morning. I tried to make it a habit of exercising regularly. Current habit was about once a week. And the thing I enjoy most is running. Love to hear other people's experience with exercise, what they like to do. For me, it's the runner's high, the thrill, the burn. I feel like it's one of the most efficient ways of exercising. I've also always had a hard time working out via weightlifting. I used to also run in high school. I at least conditioned with the track team, but I decided to do tennis. Can save those experiences for another time. So with my exercise also comes with a slight struggle. Everyone has these pains in their body. And I get this. I don't know how it happens, what it's causing it, because it's been about a month and a half since I last exercised like this. I'd love to run more, but I can't because I get this ache in my knee, and I just have to live with it. It's not the end of the world. We all have our techniques for dealing with pains and struggles. So I'll feel this knee pain for a day or two, and then I'll be gone. I wish to exercise more, but I also think any effort you take into going out to exercise, trying to improve your body, doesn't matter who you are, what you do, it's the thought that counts, that usual phrase, and also what it does for you, for your own mental health, your own psyche. I encourage and applaud anyone that can find the pleasures in exercising or fulfilling something that they want in their life, no matter how small. It slowed me down significantly for that travel. Actually, if I recall, can you just build the car on the spot? You can, which means I should have these things on me. And that would surely speed up traveling back. I do a prediction, I'll probably be at the back of the map, which won't be an easy route back, so apologize for this delay in getting back to the project. But let's work on getting those resources on me so I can save the trip. A game about time, but also about efficiency. Let's not get sucked into there. Let's allocate some temporary storage. Those oscillators and I believe beacons, which I have some on hand. So I'll just have to remember to pull them out. Perfect. That was easy. Didn't have to hunt them down from some machinery. Nice casual ride back up to the top. You can see all of my spaghetti mess. Gonna throw in a quick save. Again, if something happens in one of these Hypertube travels, it'd be good to return to base instead of walk back to your body who knows where, a mile away. So it's always ideal to save. In fact, I might even get an opportunity to use the car sooner than later. Need to be a bit more mindful of my gas consumption right here. So I'll go ahead and touch down. Didn't want to use the full length of that Hypertube because it launched me way past one travel point before. If I recall, you need to put fuel in manually. Perfect. And hopefully this speeds up getting back. Means I don't get to use the fun belt traveling, but hopefully this also helps avoid the local fauna. Came to a fork in the road. I've never actually consistently used cars before, so this is actually a first experience for me, seeing what an off-road vehicle does in this game. It is unwieldy. I don't like it. Looks like it's also trying to correct itself constantly. And it's destroying the fauna, which means it's taking away a resource that you can't constantly call upon in a desperate situation, but also the point of the game being you oversource things in a overcompensation. Let's work on some language structure. Overcompensatory? Not sure that's a word. Alright, I'm done with that. Let's go the rest of the way on foot. One of the structures that I've always enjoyed about this game is the rib-like stone structures. Makes you question the difference in world development. How, if our world were to be different in some way, what would we discover? What would it be? Of course, there are limits to science and what things are possible within our world. So, imagining other worlds out there is always a nice little treat. Also goes to show how imaginative and creative minds can be. If you have a vision of something you want to create, and you have an idea of what outlet you want to put it in, then I give you all the power that I can give, to go ahead and do it. If it's create your own video game, I've spoken with people that are highly invested in video game design and what it goes into. It's always a fun learning experience there. I don't have many connections to authors, but I can always boast an amazing one, my uncle Richard Paul Evans. If I can plug him in here real quick. A very amazing man. I've read a handful of his books, which is a shame on me. I should be reading every single one of his books. But it's always nice to appreciate somebody's creative talent in writing, whether they are a close relative or a complete stranger. You can still learn something about them in their writing, how their mind works, what they view as a creative treat, something that they believe would make a nice change or a amazing thing to give to the world. And so the power of creative thinking can come in so many different mediums, outcomes, platforms. I've also tried writing a book. Sad story there. It's only one chapter because I lost the other 9 or so I had written. So that idea is always sitting in the back of my head, but I can live with myself not to put it out there, to work on it again. I'd love to. It was such a fun treat to think like that. To think about content creation. I apologize for this run back. It appears to have taken a lot longer than I anticipated. It's another opportunity to explore the world. I also should have calculated where I was trying to get back to in the first place. But another opportunity to look at the world. Try to learn more about what goes into the design of this game. Again, into the minds of creators and world design. Let's speed this up a little, shall we? Let's try to land in some shallow water or on some ground. Perfect. I should have been doing that more constantly. If I boast that I like doing it so much, then why am I not doing it more? And we're back. Let's start that timer again. 34 minutes. We broke that half a second to second barrier to create a minute. A huge part of what makes a healthy body is a healthy mind, and vice versa. What makes a healthy mind is a healthy body. I had a lapse there. I don't know if I said the same statement twice. One begets the other, and vice versa. And that's why I encourage anyone to find that opportunity to exercise. Do something that gets them out, gets their blood pumping. Find some form of exercise that they enjoy. I apologize for not going to the outer extremes of the map here. I think I needed to get some height because I had to get across. Let's add that to one of the blips in this area here. Make that the third one. The first two being minor little funny pipe placements. And it looks like we're still about in the same biome as before, but it's still a pleasant one to look at. Another thought I would like to explore on, again this is only my speculation, my own biased and pedestrian view of a topic, would be about pronouns. I'm a high advocate for anyone that wants to identify themselves and be expressive of their own personal stance on life and how they want to be treated and viewed. To find what they believe to be their true selves. I've had a lot of time to do self-discovery. I hope everyone has spent a good amount of time themselves to try and figure out who they are, what they like about themselves, what they'd like to improve themselves, and what they feel defines them, their own person and their own way they want to be viewed in the world. This one's a treat. Get to place some funky bends in here. Let's make this an extra quirk. It's gonna go a mile away. Oh, let's make that 2. So now we are up to 5. Overbending and that height, and I'm fine with that. Nothing is perfect in this world. We all do things our own way. We try to find ways to fit in, discovering ourselves. So when it comes to pronouns, I am genuinely interested in what others think of the topic. How one finds enjoyment in life based off of who they are, who they're becoming, how they want to be viewed. Me personally, I've always viewed myself with a particular phrase. I am an enigma. I am an oddity. I do not find myself to be more extreme or different than any other person. I'm not the most unique individual out there. But there are parts of me that I view as peculiar. Obviously, everyone is unique in their own way. Don't wish to stand out, but I do want to be expressive and give everyone else the opportunity to express themselves. Apologies here for some of the high heights that we're going to be moving along. Also, we're low on a cliff face, so we also won't be able to look in and see some local fauna, except for this slight window of rocks. Everyone should have the opportunity to explore themselves, express themselves, and find out what makes you your own human being, your own person that lives on this planet. Bit of philosophy behind that. We were all born here, whether we had the choice to or not. And so we've got to make the best of it. Maybe got to, or have to, is not the best way of putting it. That ties into my pro-life view. Even if we were born onto this planet without a choice in the matter, it's still worth considering that we can make the best of it, that we can do things that make life worthwhile. Do things that make us unique, help us explore ourselves, explore the world. I want to throw in there just the pain that some of these efforts to get these belts up here had to build concrete stairs going up and up and up to get to here. So that was fun, a tedious task, but an enjoyable part of the game. And then back down. So here's one of those spots that I definitely went the extra mile. Earlier I cut straight across, but here I decided this inlet of water would be a worthwhile spot to just go the extra mile. And that's also a part of self-discovery. Find something in your life that you want to put the effort into, whether it's discovering yourself on the LGBTQ, 2S, I'd love to incorporate all of the abbreviations for the LGBTQ plus spectrum introduction. That is definitely a memory challenge, because a big part of discovering yourself is also discovering what makes you unique. And so my advocacy there again is you'll find something about yourself that makes you 100% unique compared to anyone else, and that gives you the opportunity to add your own entry into that index, into that list of ways to be known. Maybe that throws in how some people want the attention, the recognition, and some people don't. And that's fine if you don't. Again, it's part of the exploring yourself and figuring out what you like, what makes you you, what makes you unique, and how you want to choose to live. I won't claim to be an expert on any of these topics. I also don't view myself as highly opinionated, but I will definitely get heated and chime in on things that I feel are worth sharing, are worth getting a point across. Guess that's another part of what makes me human, is how I feel about topics, about others, about viewpoints, and my own feelings. There's a bit of that goldfish brain that made me completely forget the initial point I was sharing, is my own self-expression. And if I tie it into pronouns, I have always been a bit curious about how people decide their own. I have to be careful here because I'm getting hit a lot. So let's move quickly past here on flat ground. And I've been trying to do my research. I'm not exactly sure of the significance of particular pronouns, the ones that are, again, along the unique spectrum of being referred to. I want to learn more about what I am and why I view myself the way I do. And for the most part, I consider myself gender neutral, gender fluid. I also tie them all together, gender non-conforming. And the pronouns that I would choose, which I expect others to be surprised by, because people are looking for the answer and a way to fit in, but again, tying it to what makes us unique and just self-discovery, is I don't want to be bound by the commonly known pronouns, in the sense that I actually would be fine with being called anything. There's parts of me that identify strictly as male, and there's parts of me that identify strongly as female and how I want to express myself. Born a guy, wish I was born a girl. But also getting comfortable with who I am, who I'm becoming. And so my natural instinct is to refer to anyone regardless of their immediate appearance, is to refer to them as they. The most reasonable. I'm going to pause the timer, take a step back and look at this area because I think it's still a nice area to look back on, although now it's on the ground. See some silly things. I think I was hiding from some monsters while doing some math somewhere for something. Or waiting for these these belts to fill up. Can see my sky bridge off in the distance. Back to it because goldfish brain. So my first instinct is to refer to anyone as they, because I believe that is the most appropriate. To not be to not assume anything of anyone. To assume their gender identity or orientation and how they view themselves on the spectrum. And I encourage anyone else to at least have some understanding and approach to that mentality. I think it's a healthy way of thinking, of living, of expression. And so maybe it's a bit unfair of me to say I don't want to be clustered in with one way of being referred to as. That if I had my way, I'd say call me they, them in a comfortable setting, but if you really got to know me, it would be you can call me anything. But if you look at somebody's pronoun tags and all you see is any, if that is to be taken seriously or viewed as a joke, I'd hope that the message gets across easily enough simply with that, because I feel like it's an appropriate answer. Some might not agree with it, some might not accept it. Others might be the most encouraging you've ever met, and it goes to show character of how people take things differently. One way I look at it is, of everyone you'll ever meet, 50% will be on one side, 50% will be on the other, which might be wrong of me to point things in that absolute of a way. So it's a assumption on my part, a maybe slight statistical analysis of that on any subject matter. Seem running low on pipes here. Kinda untimely, but not the end of the world. That said, I am at the end of the world. I'm almost directly straight across. Not sure about halfway, because there's still quite a distance to go. So I encourage everyone to explore themselves, to get comfortable with their own identity, to find out what they love, what they like, what they wish to become, where they want to be. And I know I'm not quite there yet. I've still got a lot to do myself before I become what I view as my true self. And looks like we hit the end of... I do apologize. At one point I must have stopped the timer. About 5-10 minutes back. I guess that's what makes us human, is human error. I'll put a beacon here. So I know exactly where to come back and not lose all that time returning. So let's hitch a ride and get on my way back. Hopefully my next attempt will be a bit more prepared. And I can continue these thoughts for the next little bit. Still got a few more minutes before we hit an hour mark. I want to keep these videos loose and liberal. A little bit of unprofessionalism is not a editing or trimming down the videos. Of course I'll do the initial parts. No one wants to see the funny black blank screens. Maybe we can tie that into exploring yourself and understanding who you are, learning and growing. I know some tips and tricks about video editing and how to get things to work right, work well. I always liked this area of the map. Of course it's plagued by fauna and poison. It's also blessed with beauty and character. Oh, definitely not picking up that blue slug. I had another micro base here that has a launch point, so I was just traveling to it to save me some time. So with that opportunity of exploring yourself and learning things to help yourself grow, always includes the ways to improve yourself with self-expression. To find out what makes your character you and unique. Apologize for any hiccups in my dialogue. I'm getting affected by this sun setting. Makes me feel tired and want to hit the hay. That timer was at 47 minutes. I'm going to cut that off at 52, 53 minutes. Hopefully a safe call for time lost versus time spent. You can see this similar setup where I try to get high so I can launch off. And here was a base that obviously got nulled out. All the inactive burners on refineries because of the patch update. Which at first it was a grievance with the game, but also it was a nice touch to add liquids to the game. Still a bit challenge to work with. It's a thinking game. Looks like I'll end this video here, coming up on an hour. Thanks to anyone who's been watching, and I hope you learned something from my slight rambling or gibberish. Like to touch up on topics as best I can, bring more ideas, bring more flavor and understanding. But also it's an opportunity for everyone to think more about what they like, what they want to discover about themselves, about others, about the world. Thank you for listening, and see you in the next one.